it gets really complicated the bigger your project gets.
Yeah.
So you can imagine.
Oh yeah, with what you were
doing
doing.
an entire film with having issues like that. So.
Grab that next one. Yeah, that's your director, right?
It is.
Sounds
Hello.
slow.
Hey, how's it going? I'm just getting ready to do a interview for the Lima News. So we're just they're getting the camera set up right now. What's up, Howard? Can I call you back in like 20, 30 minutes?
If you need a few minutes, it's fine with me. Whatever.
Is there anything going on right now? What's happening? All right. All right, I'll call you back in like 15 or 20 minutes. All right, thanks, bye.
We want some dinner. Get this stuff in the car.
I'm all right. I just had a protein bar and I'm good. So thank you.
Yeah, let me adjust. I'm going to end up doing my workout. I was on my way to the Y because I didn't know if I'd catch her or not. I knew probably a lot going on. And then rerouted and called my wife and I was going to have a late night. She's like, well, the kids are wondering where you've been. They haven't seen you much. So I have a sort of a gym in my basement.
That's nice.
That's with some milk crates and some planks and a couple of one of those sets of adjustable weights that go from 5 to 30 or whatever.
I need to get one of those.
They're nice. It was a little pricey, you know, for the space because I share my kid's playroom as my gym. So
Nice. Kind of like my dad he has a gym in his basement, but it's full of like toys and stuff. So I like to
yeah.
work out in there sometimes.
All right. Well, here's my low budget. Hopefully that'll help me this time.
Okay.
All right. We're here with.
Theodore James.
We're here with Theodore James, a Wapakoneta native who has produced a movie called Superheroes. So we'll talk about the movie in a minute. Tell me a little bit about how you went from a kid in Wapakoneta to a producer in Hollywood.
You know, I always wanted to make movies ever since I was little, and I forced my niece and nephews and cousins to be in my small budget films. And so I always knew, and I worked at a movie theater as a manager and projectionist for years, just because I loved being around films in one capacity. And about 7 years ago, it was, I think, August 2004, I was ready to move to California and try it. And when I got out there, it was like moving to a foreign country. Like everything was different. There's, you know, my car got towed like every other day. Parking tickets, just, you know, going to the store to get milk was a challenge because, you know, there's so much traffic and there's so, you know, it was definitely very hard to adjust. But, you know, after about 6 months, I started to get the hang of it, and I got an internship in television, which was nice. So it was my first, like, job in the business, and that led to my first paying job on Girls Next Door, the Hugh Hefner reality show. And then from there, I was able to move into documentary films, and I met up with a filmmaking team, Patrick Creedon and his wife Christine O'Malley. They direct and produce together, and they had just did a film called Wordplay that got accepted to the Sundance Film Festival in 2006, I think, and they ended up selling it for $1 million. And so they needed an assistant to help them deliver that movie and get it ready for the release. And I interviewed for them, ended up getting the job, and it was only supposed to be for a couple months, but we clicked and worked together so well that it carried on for about 4 or 5 years, and I, you know, moved to associate producer, then to producer, and then full producing partner with them. And then about a year ago, I really wanted to make a name for myself, and I decided to take a break from their company and open up my own company and do my own film called Superheroes. That was the first one I did, and it's doing pretty well right now. It got into Slam Dance, and it was just sold to HBO.
Great. For people who don't know the jobs that go on behind a film, what does it mean to be a producer of a film?
There are a bunch of different types of producers. There are executive producers who typically fund the film. So if you see like a big Hollywood film that has a big budget and you see all the executive producers, those are typically the people who have the financing and pay for it. There's consulting producers or there's creative producers who just come on and help with the creative aspect of the film, and they don't do any of the contracts or the legal stuff. And then there's the general producer, which is just producer, and they kind of do everything. They're kind of like all those producers. They do every single thing, and they're on the film from the beginning to the end, where an editor just comes on to edit the film and then leaves, but the producer would make sure the editing gets done and it's true to the director and the producer's vision, and you know, it is on for the life of the project and helps it get sold and make sure everybody's gets paid and their deal memos are correct. So it's very much a crucial part to filmmaking.
And I saw in the credits you also, on this particular film, did some writing and wore a few other hats. Was that, I guess, was that kind of by necessity of trying to keep the production lean?
You know, absolutely. We were basically, you know, we had a really good team of people, but at the end of the day, it was really just me and the director, Michael Barnett, who, you know, had to keep things moving. So we had to do a lot of it ourselves. You know, he was also the cameraman. We worked very closely with the editors to make sure it was a story that we wanted to tell, because with documentaries, the magic, you can go out and film for hours and hours and hours, but the real magic happens in the edit, in my opinion. So, you know, we were very hands-on in that, and we tried to be as lean as possible to get the film done, because we didn't have a lot of money and we were financing it ourselves, so we called in a lot of favors from a lot of people. So,
now, how did the idea of this, you know, of a film about real life superheroes, how did that come about?
You know, Mike and I was producing a documentary for Nickelodeon, and we hired him as a cameraman. And I had known Mike for a few years, but we weren't really friends, and we would just see each other around occasionally, or he would work together on a project we were doing. And we had some downtime at Nickelodeon while we were waiting to get in and film, I think, an animator or something. And he was like, "Hey, I got this idea for a documentary. It's about superheroes and these people who actually are real life superheroes." And I was like, "Wow, that's kind of interesting. I hadn't seen a film like that." And it was way before Kick-Ass had came out, so it was like there wasn't even that out there yet. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm really interested in doing it. You know, we should talk about it." And as soon as the SpongeBob project was over, it was about 6 months later, I called him up and I was like, you know, I looked into it a little more, did some research on my own, and I was like, this is a really good idea, and there hadn't been a film like that yet. So I was like, let's do it. Let's partner up and let's make it. And I was like, but if we do it, let's finish it in a year, because a lot of documentaries can go on for 4 to 5 to 10 years, and I was like, I just, you know, if we do it, we have to be lean and we have to be dedicated and we have to get it done. So I was like the one who was put together the schedule and was like, we have to be done by this date. We have to do whatever it takes to get there. And I think it paid off. So.
I'm going to take a quick break. I'm getting paranoid that I didn't turn something on here. I'd hate to. All right, that's working. And this one, got that unplugged. Yeah, move exactly where you were. Now, so you had this idea, and you know, as with anything, you have a preconceived opinion of what you think you're going to find. How did what you expected differ from what the reality was out there?
You know, with every documentary, and this just comes with experience of doing it, like you have an idea and you write out your treatment and what the film is going to be, and you take that to your investors, or you take that to your, you know, whoever is going to fund the project, and you're like, this is the film I want to make. And it never ends up like that. The finished project is close, but it's very different from what you start out, because, you know, you when you're out in the field and you're interviewing, you never know what people are going to say. You never know what you're going to get. So there's always that mystery throughout the production of what you're going to end up with, and it's always kind of like, oh wow, it's a surprise, but it's like, well, that's what it kind of makes sense as you go along, and it kind of happens organically. And with superheroes, my first thought would be like, yeah, these guys are going to go out, they're going to fight crime, they're going to stop the bad guy, and we're going to get on camera, it's going to be great. And, you know, there is some of that in there, but the patrols that we would go on with these guys, you know, it was kind of like a neighborhood watch where you walk around, you make sure, you know, nothing out of the ordinary is happening, and not a lot happens. Like it's very hard to like run into a criminal like robbing a bank or, you know, hijack or, you know, trying to steal a car. It's hard to get on camera, and it's, you know. So anyways, not a lot of that happened while we were out there, but what was interesting is that they focused a lot on the humanitarian side of helping others, and that's what was really like something that we could show and something that really resonated with us, and that was different than what we set out to tell or find.
Okay. It seemed in watching the movie there's a kind of, you know, a theme that develops of, you know, just introducing these people and, you know, showing a little bit of who they are, and then kind of you know, bring it to a conclusion with some of the impact they have. You know, are those the themes? I guess what were the themes that you were trying to bring across in this movie, and kind of how did you go about laying that out?
You know, it was a really challenging process. Excuse me, process for us as filmmakers, because there was no like. We were telling a story about a community of people who dress in costume and go out and fight crime or help their fellow citizens, and there really is no like beginning, middle, and end with it. So it was a challenge to try and find a way to structure the film so it still flowed and felt like there was a story unfolding in front of you. So, you know, we had themed vignettes of sections of people talking about their costumes or talking about their weapons or what inspired them. And we would also spend some time in between those just profiling a subject and just trying to like show you what it's like to walk, you know, a little bit in their shoes and what their everyday life was. So, you know, it was kind of a challenge for us to structure the film, but I think, you know, we had talented editors, and it came together nicely, I think. So.
I noticed one of the things that struck me is a balance that you kind of walk. You know, there's an opportunity, maybe a temptation to, you know, mock these people who do these odd things, and then as the story progresses, you see a better side of them. There might be a temptation there to make them seem better than they are. How do you walk that line of not, you know, showing who they really are as these, you know, flawed people who have set out to do good, without making them look too flawed or too good?
Right. That was another very difficult issue we had with the film, and it took a lot of time, and it took months and months of editing and months of going back and forth and having private screenings where we showed the film to other filmmakers and our peers, and had big conversations after the movie on what worked, what didn't work, and we probably had about 15 or 20 of those before we submitted to any film festivals, just so we knew what people were reacting to, or what was working, what wasn't working. So we did a lot of those screenings. We also, you know, we didn't want to make a movie that was mean or mean-spirited or mocking them. But there is an element of, you know, some of there's a character, you know, Mr. Extreme in the film who is he knows when he's being funny. You know, he fights, he shows us his techniques in one of the very early scenes where he fights a bop or a body opponent bag, and you know, afterwards he knew that was, you know, kind of funny. So, you know, we didn't go out of we definitely didn't go out of our way to make it mean-spirited or anything like that, but there is an element of that where it's, you know, it is a film about people who dress up in costumes, so you're naturally going to have that kind of, going into a film like this, you're going to feel like, oh, this is, you know, these guys are a little goofy, but hopefully by the end of the film we wanted people to think, you know, it may be a little goofy, but they're still, you know, really trying to make their world a better place, which is, you know, very admirable. And you know, they are out there helping a lot of people, so I think they're doing great work.
What, in filming this, what kind of challenges did you face with, it's, a lot of it happens in, bad parts of town at odd hours of night. Was that a difficult thing to do?
Yeah, it was. We went on a couple bait patrols with the New York Initiative in Brooklyn in the middle of the night in some really seedy areas. And it was, it was a little scary. We outfitted the New York Initiative with chest cams so they could be out there, and we were back maybe, I don't know, a few blocks, just so we weren't in the way. And it was definitely, it was a little scary, because you don't know what's going to happen, and they're out there looking for crime, and so there's an element of, well, anything can happen, and we're definitely a little on edge those nights that we were out there filming. But luckily, nothing terrible happened, and they ended up helping people instead of trying to stop or look for a criminal and that sort of thing. So it worked out well, but it was definitely it had its scary moments.
So what is next for yourself or for you and Michael Barnett as a team? What are you looking at?
I hope we make another film together. I think we work really well together, and I don't know if it's going to be a documentary. I think we really want to try doing a narrative with actors and a script and that sort of thing. So we've been reading a lot of scripts between the two of us, and hopefully we'll find something and find some money to make a movie, and I'll be back in a couple years with a new movie.
What are your hopes for this movie?
I hope it finds an audience and does well, and we have a great audience already with HBO. They get a couple million viewers, more than that, and then it'll be out on DVD and Netflix, and I couldn't be more happy that all of these deals are coming together, and it's going to be, HBO is releasing it internationally too, so it'll be in Asia, Europe, Australia, India. Like it'll really get out there. So as a filmmaker, that's a huge, it doesn't happen a lot for every film that gets made. So we're really happy and honored that our film's going to get that out there and find an audience.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, so...
It's probably the only interview you do with Easter egg behind it. These people were
Probably.
Showed up out of the blue, and they these chairs were out there.
Were they?
In here. And
I'll help you move them back.
so did I got a brief message from Len. Did you get a chance to talk with you, the kid from Van Wert?
Yeah, yes, Lenny, right?
Yeah, Len. Yeah.
Yeah, the Van Wert Film Festival. I did. I talked to him after the screening for a while, and yeah, I'm anxious to talk to him more. He said he's a writer and director, and he had like a script or two he wanted to send my way.
I was saying you probably get that a lot, but that can be a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking for scripts right now, so it's a perfect time.
You've inspired me. I've got a couple. I'm not going to try and pitch anything. I've got some story ideas that I was going to turn into novels at some point. One based on a politician who it was interesting. He was our congressman up in Van Wert, and I covered him, and he was talking back in '07 about they would ask him, Congressman Gilmore, what's the big problem you see? And he said, well, it's all these mortgages and things going on. We call them liar loans. And
wow, this was in 07?
07. He goes, and it's going to be the downfall. This is all going to come crashing down.
Wow.
And then he died in the fall of 07. He fell down the stairs of his apartment in D.C. So I don't think it's true, but I got a great theory that he was killed because he knew too much.